Good day to all the good folks. I am Male Singi Onyenyo Ohene Aniwa. And this is episode 0 of a fruitful journey I've called Hudu Is Political. Because Hudu is in fact political. And this show is going to start out the same way every episode. I'll be reading a Quranic scripture, Al-Fatiha. So I'll do that now. In the name of Allah, most gracious, most merciful, praise be to Allah, most gracious, most merciful, master of the day of judgment. Thee do we worship, and thine aid we seek. Show us the straight way, the way of those on whom thou hast bestowed thy grace, those whose portion is not wrath, and who go not astray. All right. So my name again is Singi Onyenyo Ohene Aniwa. My title is Male. I'm going to get into it all a little bit later. My pronouns, though, are Z, Zim, Zir, and Zimself. But he, him is fine too. Z, Zim is perfect. But how do you use those pronouns, Singi? Great question. So, Z is really cool. I would love to meet Zim. Their channel is very informative. I wonder if Z does it all Zimself. Just like that. But if that was a little too fast for you, don't even worry about it. I got a link in the description for an interactive game on how to use it properly, along with other pronouns. So, I could repeat my name all day. Singi Onyenyo Ohene Aniwa. It's like music to me. But who is Singi? Who is Z? I am a two-headed, two-spirit, not non-binary. Love the non-binary people though. I am an Islamic Hudu and a diviner, a conjurer, a mystic, and an artist. And I was brought up in the Southern Baptist Church. I am very, very passionate about liberation. And I love Black people. Like, love Black people. It runs deep in me. It's in my blood. And I am double indigenous. I have to do it this way. Double indigenous. Indigenous African descended from Angola. And also Turtle Island native Cherokee. What else? Oh, and I'll make this distinction now. I am not a Muslim. Well, I'm more like a third of a Muslim. And my spirits, my kin, the Malays whose legacy I am standing on the shoulders of continuing, they were very devoted Muslims. I'm being trained in the way that they did their religion. And another thing to know about me is that I'm woke. I'm super woke. I'm a woke SJW. Anyway, but yes, I love freedom. My name is Singi Onyenyo Ohene Aniwa, and that's it. Singi is spelled T-S like me, I-N-G-Y. And it stems from a rock needle-like structure that is made of limestone, and it was created over millions of years of erosion. And in Malagasy, which is the indigenous language of Madagascar, the word means where one cannot walk barefoot because they're needle-like. You'll get stabbed in the foot. And there's also a national park in northwest Madagascar, Singi de Bamara. Singi de Bamara. And yes, that is what Singi means, where one cannot walk barefoot. My middle name, Onyenyo. Onyen with a tilde. That's the curvy one. Onyenyo. So in Umbundu, which is one of the many native languages in Angola, Onyenyo means passion or anger, but they're very closely linked. So passion and anger in Umbundu. And my surname, Ohene Aniwa. 2 words, Ohene. That's the first word. Aniwa. Ohene Aniwa. And this is an Ohene Aniwa. It's an Adinkra symbol from the Akan culture of Ghana. And it represents power, authority, security, intelligence, protection, and security. And it stems from the phrase, the common axiom, Ohene Aniwa Twane Hohia. And loosely translated, very loosely translated, it means the king's eyes see all. So, altogether, my name means the king's eyes see all, to smartly protect and secure their passion. Refer back to my intro to see what my passion is. So tread lightly. So, this next part, what are my qualifications for those that are wondering? I've been a Hudu for 3 years. I count that from when I started my very first cleansing on New Year's Day. And I am on a vocational path. So I do my everyday things. I am completely focused and dedicated to Allah, to my path set by the universe, and being a Malay. That's it. I do my everyday things, and if I'm not doing that, I am a Malay. I just, do spirit work. I'm a Hudu. And I was initiated as a Malay under Hajjan on October 1st of 2023. And speaking of being a Malay, this is my elder. She's awesome. And I'm so happy about that. And yeah, I have all of the Malays in my kin though, so not just her. And I may have only been a Hudu for a few years, but I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. It's in me, in my blood. So yes, that's how I'm qualified. I was chosen for this path. The high priestess said, "You the one," but not like that though. You the one. There we go. And before I start this section, I'm going to call in the 8 leaders: Ahuna, Bilal, Sule, Damalu, Gustar, Manuel Calafate, Luis Sanem, and Dandara. The Malays were a group of 50 African Muslim mystics, and they were in the city of Salvador, in the state of Bahia, in the country of Brazil, in South America. Many of them were enslaved, but all of them led jihad, a holy war, against the Brazilian state in the name of abolition and the liberation of their people. The group consisted of mainly Nago, which is the name for the Yoruba in Brazil, and also Hausa Africans. There was also Tapa, there was Fulani, and Ayokija. And also, there's another group in there. Shout out to the Congos. Shout out to the Congos, you know, because every source I looked at for this thing, no one mentioned the Congos at all. So, I was adopted by the Congos, so you know I gotta give it up for the Congos. Show love. But anyway. And my elder Malay is Congo, so that's okay. They're not Afro-Brazilian, by the way. They are Africans that were enslaved in Brazil. So, a fun fact that I love sharing about the Malays, like for real. Every time I mention the Malays, I be doing this. They were so deeply moved and inspired by the Haitian Revolution that they wore amulets, right? Depicting Jean-Jacques Dessalines around their necks, along with their other adornments. So I'm like, that's so cool. That is so... Our fight has never been solitary. All right. So, the Ramadan Revolt, also known as the Malay Revolt. I'll start out by saying chattel slavery was introduced to Brazil via Portuguese colonization in 1619, and then in 1822, the Brazilian people won their independence from Portugal, but they kept chattel slavery. So that's where we are now. And there were 30 slave revolts, 30 slave revolts just in Bahia, the singular state of Bahia. And most of them happened in the 1820s. So, but our timeline starts in 1835. Okay. So, the Malays had everything planned out, and they were at this gathering finalizing the details, and they decided that it'll all go down on Laylat al-Qadr, the night of power, the night when Allah, most gracious, most merciful, started to reveal the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And then a woman walked in. Yeah. She walked in and booked it to two random guys and snitched to them. Then those two random guys snitched to the closest authorities. The closest ones. And as a result, on January 25th, 1835, and yeah, that's the right way. On January 25th, 1835, at around 1 in the morning, a whole day early, the Malays sped into action. They took off. Y'all know the plan. Split up into two teams. First team, you know what to do. We got to go to the city prison in Praça de Palacio and overwhelm the guards, steal their weapons, free Bilal. Second team, hit the streets. Mobilize as many people as you can who will support the cause, who will fight with us. Because that's what we need right now. And the second team was able to mobilize 600 people, 600 supporters of all walks of life, freed, enslaved, Muslim, non-Muslim, but in particular, the ATR folks and the indigenous people of Brazil, they showed out. They showed out. And the first team went to Praça de Palacio. Free Bilal. Liberate our leader was what they were focused on. But unfortunately, in both battles, the resistance was outgunned. The oppressor forces had guns and bayonets, whereas the Malays and the supporters only had spears and swords and stones. So there were many casualties and captures in the streets. And the first team went to Praça de Palacio. They were not able to overwhelm the guards, so they were forced to retreat, and they ran to a nearby town, Reconcavo. And any slaves that were not already Malays in Reconcavo, they were like, please help us. We need more people who will support us and fight with us. And so they refused. Yeah. And the remaining Malays fled to Agua de Moninos. And trapped in between the oppressor forces and the sea, they had their ultimate battle. The Malays would never, ever surrender to any oppressive force. And many of them took to the sea. They fled to the water spirits for safety. And those who didn't make it to the water, they were captured and there were lots of different sentences handed down. And that is the Malay Revolt. I think a lot about that story, obviously. But one of the greatest lessons that I've ever been taught by my elder was that even if you think you gonna lose, and we ain't gonna lose, y'all. You must still fight. Because if you don't fight, then you're complicit in your own oppression. And we can't have that. So this next part is going to be a little bit more logistical things about the actual channel itself. First off, why do I use Hudu, Hudu, and not Hudu, Hoo? Well, two reasons. First off, I think it's a very visual, blatant distinction between our African religion of Hudu and the African religion of Voodoo. So, Hoo, Doo, and Voo get confused a lot, and there is a whole bunch of other stuff too, but I'm not getting into that shit. So, that's the first reason. They're different. The second reason is that Hudu, Hudu, is actually the correct way to spell our religion's name. And Hoo is, it stems from academia. Usually white folks thinking that hoodoo is just voodoo with an H, you know. But Hudu is an Ewe word that means spirit work. You know, that's why we refer to ourselves as Hudus. We are spirit workers, or we do hoodoo, we do spirit work. With all that being said, both versions are not necessarily wrong. As you'll see from my graphic here, numerologically speaking, they resonate at the same frequency of 9, which means love and service. Right here is a graphic of the numerology between the two words. Between the two words. H is 8, U is 3, D is 4, and U again is 3 again. That equals 18. 1 plus 8 is 9. Hudu, H, 8, O, 6, another O, another 6, D, 4, O, 6, O, another 6. And so that equals 36. 3 plus 6 is also 9. There we go. So, how did HIP come about? How did I come up with this show? I didn't come up with this show, actually. So, it was on September 1st. A lot of the first of the months happening here. I didn't realize that until I was writing out my script. September 1st of 2023, and it was around 2 a.m. that particular night was the super blue moon in Pisces. And I was sitting on the street chilling for reasons. And as I was, just hanging out, a random passerby passed by. And he passed by me, looked back, and said, "Hey, you look like you do acid." Now, folks, I was almost a tiny bit insulted. But look at me. Look at me. I mean, and at that point, I was like, this could end up resulting in free acid. And so I said, hell yeah, I do. And he said, well, here you go. Boop. A little gift from me to you. From them to me. Great. Listen, I recognize a blessing when I see one, so there we go. I received this gift and I went back to the crib whenever that was. I think it was like at 6:30 or something like that. I don't remember. And I popped that shit. Like, I, divined on it first. Hey, do you want me to do this thing? Of course we want you to do this thing. You should have already done it by now. And I was like, great. Boop. And let it do what it do. And on this particular journey, I saw the high priestess. The high priestess came to me and she was like, I want you to start a YouTube channel about Hudu and politics. Now is the time. We need to activate our people. You can talk about whatever topics you like. I want to be able to give my opinion as well. And then dissipate into the ether, right? So, here we are now. Hudu is political. That's how it all happened. It took a little while, but we here in 2025. It's up. Boom. In this next section, I'm going to be talking about the high priestess, where she's from, who she is, and also I'm going to give y'all another story. But first things first, the high priestess is my ancestor. Yes, she is, and I'm so happy about that. But she's also a collective Hudu ancestor. So if you a Hudu, she rocking with us, right? Because the same things that we're doing, tapping into our indigeneity and our Africanity, is the same things that she was doing back then, And so, of course, she's named the high priestess. So, of course, she's the high priestess for the entire nation, an ancient African nation called Azania. I'm going to get into what Azania is a little bit later. But her religion was Obida. Obida is spelled Obida. And Obida was also the official religion of Azania. Yeah. Azania is spelled Azania. So, all of the nation of Azania, and she was the high priestess. Yeah. Azania was an East African nation that extended from the tip of the underside of the Horn of Africa, which is present-day Somalia, goes down the east coast and kind of juts out around, it juts out around Kenya, and then it ends in the bottom of Tanzania. And they also had some of the African islands as well, like Comoros and Seychelles, and of course Madagascar. And before I actually get into who the high priestess is, I'm going to go over a few words that are going to come up. So, first one is Azaniat. That's spelled Azaniat. Azaniat is one person from Azania. And Azaniati is Azaniati. It can be multiple persons or the collective people of Azania. And then there's also Azaniak, which is spelled Azaniak with a K. And that refers to anything describing or of Azania. Anything describing anything about Azania. So Azaniak fashion, Azaniak culture, Azaniak religion, Azaniak land, anything like that. All right. And in addition to being the high priestess of Azania, she was a teacher. She literally, unofficially taught Socrates in like debate and conversation, exchanging ideas and philosophy, like science, ethics, all of it. And she also had many students of her own. She was an astronomer, astrologer, mathematician. She was a spiritual scientist. So that means she was applying scientific method to spiritual matters. And she was also a warrior, a diplomat, an internationally renowned sage, and also, last but not least, a mother of 4 children. Yeah, it's beautiful. And being the internationally renowned sage and diplomat that she was a very well-traveled woman. Going to Greece and Rome very often, so other parts of Europe as well, Asia, other parts of Africa, to meet with dignitaries and government officials to, do her work. And she also dined with Jesus of Nazareth. And she said that it's so rare to meet people who are my intellectual equal. But that night, I was learning so much. Like, I get that it was truly invaluable, truly. But what did she look like? And this is important for more parts coming up. She was 9 feet tall. 9 feet tall. And had hair so short you could see the scalp. And she often wore a pink veil obscuring her face. And Of course, because she was a warrior, she had multiple weapons on her at all times. And yeah, that's the high priestess. This next story is going to be about the high priestess. It is going to be about her final day in Azania. All right. So, the Dutch and British colonizers were selling off Azaniac land bit by bit. And they were also on a mission, on a quest to find the high priestess and end her. So, while they were looking, they were also razing the villages, as in destroying them and burning them down. They destroyed the religion, which is Obida, and they were just committing atrocities. I'm not going to get into too much of what they were doing. It was horrifying. So they were doing all that, and eventually they did find her. They found her. And she was in her quarters, packing her belongings, when suddenly there was a boom, boom, boom. And the door was beaten so hard with this battering ram, it flew off the hinges and slid right on the ground. So the high priestess, surrounded by all of her belongings, sees this whole platoon of soldiers flood in her room and just surround her. She was kneeling at the time around her loose belongings and bags and things that she was going to take with her. And in the face of most people's certain demise, I mean, they were there to kill her, she stood up in her full glory, and the entire platoon of these soldiers were just in awe. They were terrified, looking and staring at her intimidating stature, all 9 feet of her. They were horrified. They've never seen anyone this big or this tall before. And she's standing there brandishing her massive weapon. Like, hey, I'm not backing down, so do what you gotta do. And the leader said, stand down. Stand down. They spared her because they could not fight her because of her height and her weight and her, again, massive weapons. Multiple, remember, because she stayed with that thing on her. All of the things. So, she was spared. And as she collected her things and began to exit her quarters for the final time, the last time, the platoon of colonizers spread right down the middle as she walked past them. About that moment, the high priestess says, it was so incredible to feel that powerful over them. It's as powerful as I've always been. But now they know it. They can see it. And so, as she was forced to flee her home, her proud Azania nation, she went to the other side of the African continent, West Africa, where she and her 4 children, now good and grown at this time, they all left for Angola. And that is how I am connected to Angola. It wasn't called Angola back then, but it changed later on. So, there we go. That is about the high priestess. She scared the colonizers shitless, and then, come on now. Then she continued her work in Angola, because they ain't stopped nothing. And yeah, she was still able to be successful, make her money, literally get paid to exist, all that type of stuff. It was only a little speed bump, because you can't stop us. You cannot stop us. Hudu Is Political is not a platform for personal readings, love readings, or anything like that. Hudu Is Political is not a platform for the basic foundational knowledge of Hudu. There are many, many different resources and lots of great channels here on YouTube for that, but it ain't gonna be here. And Hudu Is Political is also not going to be a place where you're learning about tips and tricks and, works and things. I don't do that over here, so there we go. And with all that being said, I still encourage newbies to join in and learn with us, because this is how we're going to inform our walk on our Hudu journey. Actually accessing and developing our political analysis together. So, yeah. Hudu Is Political is a place to respectfully discuss Hudu as a religious practice, which is how are we practicing our religious theology and doctrine and, values in everyday life. And how can we, as Hudus, bring our resurging religious values into the modern day, the values being rooted in Black liberation and freedom. So, another point, Hudu Is Political is a Hudu-centered space, obviously, so don't go being rude and disrespectful to the Hudus, because remember, I'm a Hudu, and the high priestess would not like that at all. And HIP is meant to encourage discussion and organizing among communities, whether that be physical community, internet community. As long as 1 or 2 are gathered in his name, then he'll be there. And also, this is going to be the fun part. This is going to be the fun part. I am going to be channeling the opinions of the high priestess through an unedited cartomancy divination every single episode. Well, every single episode except for now. And there's also going to be mini-sodes, which are videos, miniature episodes, where I'll be giving my opinion, my thoughts on different topics that I think other people need to know about. It might be, you know, something that is very popular, something that's very little known, but it's mainly going to be whenever I want to post it, not as part of the episodes themselves. So that leads me to my next point. Pretty nice, huh? So how often am I going to be posting videos here to Hudu Is Political? This month kind of got away from me, not gonna lie, obviously. But after January, the plan is gonna be twice a month. 2 videos a month, and those are regular episodes, not including the mini-sodes. The mini-sodes are just things I want to talk about and content that I choose to sprinkle in on the channel. Oh yeah, if you want to get to know me, Male Singi, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter. I love Twitter. I've curated my Twitter so that it's good for me. But I'm opening it up, so maybe that might change. I don't know. At Male Singi, MAHLAYTSINGY. Male Singi. Ta-da! And so I take consultations. I'm excited about this. I'm jumping in. Feel free to hit the DMs. On to the next part. And before I officially wrap it up, I'm going to do some shout outs. Hey, because it's episode 0 and I really get to do whatever the fuck I want to do. But also because I love everyone on this list. First off, I want to shout out my Hudu cousins because y'all are really real. Everyone was very encouraging. Everyone was like, yo, you gotta do it. You know, I think that it would be really great for you to talk about these things that you're always talking about. Always talking about politics. And yeah, I'm just so glad that I was able to have, you know, supportive folks around me. All the Hudu cousins. Shout out to y'all. My best friend, Curly. Listen, I love you. The joy of my life. Curly was especially amazing. Like, they are incredible. Oh, I love you so much, Curly. And they were super encouraging. They also helped me like flesh out the format of the show, like what's some topics I should be talking about, or like what are things I need to be thinking about the channel in general, because we both be on YouTube. We both be on YouTube. Anyway, and check out their amazing art. Check out their amazing home decor at Griot Goods on Instagram. Yes. Griot Goods is spelled GRIOTGOODS. Right there. And I also want to thank my cousin, Zion. She ain't a Hudu, but I love her. I love you so much. You know that already. And Zion has been super duper helpful and just encouraging all the time, but especially me branching out onto like social media. Actually doing the channel. She helped me flesh out scripts, helped me like figure out talking in general, talking on screen. And also like really helped me out with like her cinematic knowledge, because this is her thing. This is her area. Okay, now I don't hit the area. We got to go to the next person. So I love you, Zion. And to the next person, last but not least, Ace. Gotta give it up to Ace, yo. I know a lot of y'all probably already know Ace at Hip Hop and Hudu everywhere. Hip Hop and Hudu is spelled HIPHOPANDHOODOO. And Ace is the linchpin for all of this coming together. She don't even know that yet, y'all. She don't even know that yet. So, hey Ace, what up? You ate on this one, really. Ace was the one who, in a random night on Twitter Spaces, channeled the High Priestess, because the High Priestess reached out to her to come to me because she wanted to work with me. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. You know, this is great getting to meet, you know, another person in my lineage. But then, you know, I don't, boop. And here we are today. With Hudu Is Political. So Ace, make sure y'all tap in with Hip Hop and Hudu. All right. And that is it? Actually, the last shout out goes to me. Thank me. Singi Onyenyo Ohene Aniwa. Love you, babe. All right. And is there something else I want to talk about? I didn't write that shit down, so. Like the video, subscribe for more, because there's going to be more. All right, and on to the closing. So that brings us to our closing. Oh my gosh, this is so surreal. Episode 0 of Hudu Is Political. Wow. I know. I'm sad too. I'm sad to have to leave y'all. But all good things to come to an end. And you can always rewatch the video as many times as you like. I'm there for you. All right. So, I'm going to end each episode the same way by reading my favorite Quranic scripture, Al-Insan 6-9. And I do this to ground us in why we do this work of healing, this work of liberation, this work of community building and essentially world building, seeing and acting on what we want to be in the world. All right, so let's do it. A fountain where the devotees of Allah do drink, making it flow in unstinted abundance. They perform their vows, and they fear a day whose evil flies far and wide. And they feed for the love of Allah the indigent, the orphan, and the captive, saying, we feed you for the sake of Allah alone. No reward do we desire from you, nor thanks.